Welcome to Valor Worldview. Today on Valor Worldview, we're going to be discussing the Stand to Reason reThink conference. We're going to be discussing our thoughts on the speakers, what they talked about, and just the whole conference kind of all together. For a list of the speakers, it'll be in the description below. We hope you guys enjoy.
Anybody want to share what Stone Street said? Come on, man. Where's Ty? Yeah, Ty. You were at this session. Where's Joseph at? Oh, he wasn't there. Michael, you were there?
Was this the one, the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the beginning.
Were any of you there?
They really went to Dallas and they went to that nice place where you eat like real mutton and then you watch people joust.
What?
Okay, he said that worldview is like glasses, so when you have good ones, you can see everything else. But when you have bad ones, it distorts everything. So he was talking about like the importance of your worldview because, and that was the main thing, is identifying you have one. It's not like whether or not you have, it's like assuming everybody has glasses. Everybody has a worldview, whether they realize it or not. So it was really good.
It was.
And then he took like a lot of samples from culture and then like went through and helped identify like what is the worldview that they're talking about here. So that was really cool too, just like the things that are you're subconsciously absorbing. So his biggest thing was not just like reject everything, but it was just be aware of the things that are coming in and that you are allowing, because, and then it went back to like ideas have consequences and big ideas have big consequences. So good or bad.
Did you take a
Well
picture of that?
said. No, I found it,
Oh,
actually.
Cool beans.
Cool.
He used an illustration, which I think was funny. The Royal Dutch Airlines sent out a tweet that said it doesn't matter who you click with. And it was for Amsterdam's gay, when they legalized gay marriage.
Oh, I remember this one.
And it was literally a picture with all the different types of airplane seatbelts. All of the two different types of airplane seatbelts pointing at each other.
So you had two female, two male, and you had a male and a female. And the straps were
This
rainbow
rainbow
colors.
colors.
Now, I'm not one of them there engineers that works on them airplanes, but I don't feel like those two things click. I don't feel like all those things click.
Exactly.
I don't feel like the male and the male click.
That's really funny.
I know which one I'm choosing.
That seems like one of them self-refuting advertisements.
True story. He said ideas have consequences, bad ideas have
Bad consequences.
victims. Ideas matter. And this is the information age. Information isn't neutral. Information isn't neutral is what he said. Anything else? He said humans ask questions, animals don't. Is all love created equal? No? Let's see. What are worldviews made of? Remember what he talked about? Worldviews?
Have you heard me?
Remember I said, was I talking to, who was I talking to? Dr. Sharp says that worldview is made up of OPID. Remember that?
Opioids?
OPID.
Oh.
Origin, purpose, identity, and destiny. Except Stone Street says it's origin, identity, meaning, morality, and then destiny. Yeah. Is it? And then he asked the question: if it's legal, is it moral? What does it mean to be human? That's as far as the identity part.
Can you repeat that, Dave? Like the OP.
OPID.
Yeah.
Origin, purpose, identity, and destiny. Okay. In a nutshell. And he added origin, identity, meaning, morality, and then destiny. So he added the two M's to it. And then he said how you answer one question influences how you answer all others. Worldview determines your values, and your values determine your action. Nice over there. Then he said, you live what you believe, not what you profess. Then he had a couple questions to ask atheists. What would the first two questions be? Michael, you can help us on this.
Why are you a pastor?
Typically, you would ask an atheist, what's the first question?
When did you become an atheist?
Yes, when did you become an atheist? And what's the second one? Follow up. When did you stop believing in God? And then he said that every cultural expression communicates worldview ideas. Anybody have anything else on that?
Was this all Stone Street?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
Really good.
Doc's first session.
I feel like I know what took notes. Just kidding. So anyway, then I had a blank space here to take notes on this page. So I wrote just an observation, personal observation that I made, and I wrote down, I've written these books, let's have a conference so we can sell some.
That was really pretty cynical view of the reThink conference you have.
But it's the truth.
You're not
Hey, why do we write these? How can we sell these books now that I've written these? Oh yeah, I know. Let's have a conference, let's talk about the books and say, but there's more. If you want to learn more, now that I've whet your appetite, why don't you stop by the book table and so that's how that works.
We know what it's about.
True story. It ain't my first rodeo.
Stone Street's Breakpoint podcast is so good though.
Oh yeah. You talking about just today's or all of them? Yeah.
They're nice to listen to little segments. If you enjoyed that Stone Street talk, it's free to get his podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Joseph, does it pay to live stream tonight?
I don't know. Harley Dimas is watching it.
Say it again.
Harley Dimas is watching it.
Oh, is she? Hi, Harley! Hi, Dimas.
She can't see it because it's just the same thing that's on here.
Okay. So then we had a break. What did you guys do during the break? Just kidding. Well, Brenda, what did you do?
I feel like there's just an inside joke here.
That was just
I got a refill of coffee.
It was just,
On the break, I got more coffee.
Yeah, you got more coffee? Mark?
Like 3 times.
3 times?
More coffee.
More coffee.
Did we have a break?
We did. Yeah, there was a break.
Brenna, secrets don't have friends.
Don't make friends.
Don't make friends.
We went outside because I had a migraine. That's what me and Brenna did.
You and Brenda had a
We went outside,
migraine?
yeah, I had a
I went
migraine.
outside. I tried to.
You guys want to have a cigarette?
Yeah, let's.
We should pray for her.
Thanks for all of you that are looking in. Well, then you'll see on session 2 we came back. Did you all sit at the same place? We did, right?
I think.
Pretty much.
So the story of reality, and they did this last year. If you were there, Kelly, you were there last year. But they did origin, design, fall, redemption, and then they each came in and shared a various aspect of, creation, chaos to order, descent to darkness, upward to life. Any insights on
Was
those?
this the planet one?
What?
Was this the planet one?
This is like the state of man, the TED Talks, where they all came into little.
Yeah, this is Schliemann started this one, and then Barnett, and then Coco, and then Wallace. Anybody have anything on any of these? Nothing to something? Schliemann? Anybody? I didn't take notes on Schliemann. He's the guy from Canada, eh?
No, that's Tim.
No, that's Tim.
That's Barnett. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, Schliemann's doing it. Anybody on Schliemann?
Harley says hello, and that you guys are all beautiful.
Thank
I
you.
needed that today.
Me too.
Did you say she can't see you?
That's a good point.
Anybody have anything on Schliemann? Going once? Sarah, you're over here. You got notes?
I was actually going to read him because I remember he was talking about how creation requires a God that's all powerful, timeless, immeasurable, and intelligent, and that no other God would meet those requirements. In any other religion, they're all like finite into one specific thing is where they activate or stuff like that. They're not for every piece of it. If that makes sense.
You got any notes on that?
No, I did not.
What did it say about Allah then? In there? Did he say anything like in particular about Allah?
No. Anything on Barnett?
Is Tim Barnett the Impact 360 guy?
No, that's Jonathan Morrow.
Oh, you're right.
Barnett is the Canadian, the tall, thin,
That
balding
is
Canadian,
a
eh?
physics teacher in high school.
He was talking about going to the resources table and they made fun of him for saying resources. He just go out into the lobby.
And he said
About and out.
We got a lot from this conversation.
Wow.
I'm like, how many times can he say about in like one one presentation.
I
It was
know.
like about 1,000 dollars. So
We
good.
also learned that you're not supposed to steal towels from the hotel.
No, that was a different session.
Oh, we still learned it on the trip.
Hey, you guys learned that. I didn't learn anything.
I just wrote down what's the best explanation for the way things are. God is the best explanation for the way things are. I was going to ask that yesterday to my good friend, what's his name? The Reverend Dr. Robin Myers, but I didn't. Anything on the fall with Coco? Good. Anything else?
No, a broken world leads to bad things.
Broken world leads to bad things. Okay.
I have an idea on that one.
Adam and Eve's rebellion affected everything. The judgment. I've got judgment depart from me. Was it Coco that said every story has, or is that, I just write that down? Every story begins with love, there's a fall, and then there's redemption. I think I wrote that. Or did you write that? Huh?
He kind of did, because he touched on the fact that you never pick up a story in the middle. Or you never judge a story based on the middle, because that's the redemption process.
Yeah, so if someone asks you about the Bible, how would you define or describe, did I talk about this later? How would you describe the Bible to someone? You would talk about the fact that it's a love story, and then there's a fall from grace, from the love, but then there's a story of redemption involved as well. And then for Jay Warner, the redemption, upward to life. All I wrote on mine was wow! Exclamation point. Jay Warner Wallace, touch them all, dude. I mean, both times when he spoke.
It was really good.
Yeah, and it was new material. I was telling people, so if you've heard it before, mercy sakes, it was new material. It was really, really good. Any insights on Warner, Jay Warner? These guys are failing miserably.
Without God's mercy, their efforts are perilous.
Without what?
God's mercy, our efforts are perilous.
Okay, without God's mercy, our efforts are. Did you have anything you wanted to share? Or
No.
did you just have the one session you want to talk about?
Yes, I have the one
You
session
didn't-
that I want.
You didn't go to Jay Warner, Upward to Life? You did? Did you go to that? Did you take any notes on that?
No, I didn't take any notes on it.
Oh, okay. How about you two over there? Bail me out over here. Well, we do have a game. We can just shut this thing down. Watch basketball. Go ahead, Brenna.
I like basketball.
Don't do that.
Can we just say low key Brenna's the funniest person here?
I'm not.
Anything else? Because how many had heard, had you all ever heard Jay Warner before? You had.
I think so.
Michael, had you heard him before?
No.
Any
Which one
insight?
was that?
Huh?
He's the detective.
He's the cold case detective that spoke Friday night, the last guy.
The last guy.
Upward to Life.
I don't remember what he talked about on Friday night. I remember everything on Saturday, but I don't
I'll
really
look forward to
remember
hearing from you then. We'll get to that. Sweet. All right.
Oh, but this one was really cool because he was talking about like
Pretty
how
sure
as a cold case detective, it's different than like when you find serial killers. He's like, yeah, when we talked to the neighbors, like, hey, we just arrested a serial killer right next to you. They were like, oh, good, it smelled like dead people over there all the time, and like we were wondering when somebody was gonna say something. But he said when you arrest somebody who was from a cold case, it's like 25 years old, and so he was talking about arresting this guy who was like police
Oh,
chief.
yeah.
And
Fire
he was-
chief.
Yeah, and he was
Fire
like,
captain.
had like 12 Bible studies in his house, and like, but he also had like this huge bar in his house, and he's like, it's amazing you could actually see the ways he was trying to cope and like somehow get rid of the guilt of what he had done in the past. And I don't know, it's just really cool because he's like, are you doing that? Are you trying to like deny what you've done in the past and like work to make it better? And he's like, this is what it actually looks like for somebody who did it for 25 years and is still like denying that this happened and he killed somebody. So, I don't know, it was really convicting, but it was really good.
What was the crime again? Did he?
He murdered, there was a
The
Cashier.
shoe. The
yeah,
shoe.
Cashier.
KFC
Yeah.
for like 15 bucks.
Yeah, for oh yes. So he had the key to the store because he used to work there previously. Went in the back door and was going to take money out of the till or something like that.
The safe.
The safe.
The safe.
But he stabbed her and then he couldn't get the safe open because she was dead.
Right. And so
Well-
then all he did is he hocked 15 bucks out of her purse, and that's how. Okay, so how did he solve the case? This is crazy.
There was a piece of foam on the ground.
In the store.
in the store, and nobody knew. Yeah, yeah. Well, nobody knew where the phone was from, so he looked. I don't really know, but
The guy had a arrest
the guy had all of his stuff like taken away whenever he went to jail,
for
right?
a different thing.
Yeah, but it was still in the box because he had never grabbed this stuff out, so the shoes were still in there, and he looked at the shoes, and the phone fit perfectly in one of the shoes because apparently the guy never
Unties
his
his shoes.
so he slips his shoes on and off, so the foam or the back end of it was always coming off. So that's how he caught him.
So when he knelt down to pull the money out of her purse, that piece of foam came out of the back of his shoe, and that case sat cold for 25 years until he got a look at it. Okay, so what was his lesson in all of that?
Make sure you untie your shoes.
Wasn't it?
I'm sorry. So what was the lesson in all of that?
Don't kill someone would be starters.
Okay.
Don't kill
The lesson
someone.
with that is, how are you coping with this?
Brenda has something.
Go for it, Brenna.
I was just gonna say, was it the one where he was talking about like William was the only one that had done that, and it's like, no.
I'm listening.
And like, he was saying, like when they brought it to court and stuff, that the people weren't like, oh, he couldn't be the only one that had done that, like
There's no way he could have done it.
by himself. Yeah, but then it's like with Jesus, when we say he's the only one, then everyone's like, oh wait, he can't be the only one.
Oh wow, yeah.
Maybe no.
I never caught that. I never caught
Yep,
that.
that's what he said.
Yeah. That's
Uh-huh.
what he said.
I
Huh.
remember him saying.
Well, I think it also tied in with the guilt because we can try and live wherever we want, but eventually that guilt will catch up to us because he ended up confessing pretty much straight up.
The guy did?
I
I thought he denied it when even while he was in prison. He denied it.
I
I
don't
thought.
think so.
No,
I don't
he
think so. I
confessed.
think he was that one was
No,
said he
he's
denied it.
denied it to this
Denied
day.
it?
He denied it.
And I have a different one in my mind then.
Denial.
Watched a different day.
Awesome. Any other insights on that? Ty, it's your last chance.
Oh wow. No.
So after the worship experience, then we had some final announcements. Does anybody remember what those announcements were? No. Then we went out to In-N-Out Burgers.
Ooh.
Yep.
That's I.
All right. Now session 3, Saturday morning. This was good. Rethink. How you see sexuality. This is a Christian response to homosexuality. This is Christopher Yuan. Let me read his bio for you. Yeah, he has taught the Bible at Moody Bible Institute for over 8 years and his speaking ministry on faith and sexuality has reached 5 continents. He speaks in conferences such as the Gospel Coalition, Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, InterVarsities Urbana, and the Moody Pastors Conferences and Men's Conference on college campuses and in churches. He has co-authored with his mother, wow, this is an interesting story, their memoir, Out of a Far Country, a gay son's journey to God, a broken mother's search for hope. It's now in 7 languages. He's the author of Giving a Voice to the Voiceless. Graduated from Moody Bible Institute in 05, from Wheaton College Graduate School in 07 with a Master of Arts in Biblical Exegesis, and received his doctorate of ministry in 14 from Bethel Seminary. Anybody jump in and talk. Let's talk a little bit about his testimony, first of all.
Goodness.
Oh, like from the beginning?
Yeah, just throw out tidbits. You know, what I was thinking was the guy was, what, 3 months from his doctorate?
Yeah. He was about to graduate his doctorate, and then he got involved in some real sketchy stuff, and then he came out of the closet, and then he moved away, and then he surrounded himself with all the sketchy stuff, and it just multiplied.
I mean, he was a major drug dealer. Major. I mean, they said, how many pounds of marijuana did they catch him with?
A lot.
Shipment came to the door, and so the feds with a dog. And it was like 910,000 pounds or something like that?
It was
It was
extremely large amount.
unbelievable. The shipment he had just received, and they tracked it.
Enough to put him in 10 years to life in prison.
I was gonna say, how is he?
He got it reduced to 6 somehow.
His mother prayed him out of prison, basically.
Because his mom was the one who like called all of her friends, right? Didn't she start a prayer chain and they, when he came back home, they all like celebrated and welcomed him, and it was
Even
like
when she called him, there was, from what I heard, yeah.
Yeah, she went through a 39-day fast.
Yeah, she a 39-day fast, but then she also fasted like every week, every Monday.
And they showed her prayer closet. She had stickies all over the place in her Bible. And
She also wrote, was it an encouraging thing or a prayer about him? A blessing.
She started counting her blessings when
Oh, wow.
once he called him. When
Yeah.
he called her while he was in prison, being pronouns mixed up. Wow. When he called her about being in prison, that kind of stuff, she started counting right then and there the blessings. She's this little short woman, and now her list of blessings because of that is taller than her.
front and
He actually
back,
had it.
ticker tape, just about like that wide. She started writing the blessings. What was that first blessing he said? Remember? Ty, you can help me with this one. No?
I do not remember now.
Okay. Anybody?
I don't remember.
that he was
He's in a safe place.
Yeah. Pretty interesting. Okay, now, anything else from his testimony? How did he get out again? What was the deal? He met parole, or what was it? Oh no! How did he get saved? No.
Yeah. What ended up happening was he was in one of his cots and he looked up and somebody had engraved like a scripture, piece of scripture on the
Yep.
cot, and I don't remember what it was.
Not either.
But he found a Bible. Yeah, it was Jeremiah. What?
Something. I
29.
heard it from over here.
But he got a Bible from the
You saw in the trash. You saw Gideon Bible in the trash,
Yeah.
New Testament.
So he picked that up and started reading that passage, and they started reading the whole thing.
Well,
He had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
it was the New Testament,
Okay.
so
Didn't
he
his
said
parents send him a Bible?
His dad left him his Bible.
Yeah, but he threw
this
it
was
away.
before he was
Before he was
incarcerated.
in prison.
So, and he said he picked up the Bible in prison to read it, not because he wanted necessarily to find out what was in it. He just said, "Hey, I've got all this free time. I might as well do it. Spend some time reading." So that's what he was.
That was his dad's Bible that he threw away before he went to prison. He
Yeah.
found another one in prison.
Anything else?
Did you go to any of like his breakout sessions with him?
He had his breakouts in the main building, and a bunch of y'all went to that. Yeah.
I was curious about the gay affirming scriptural one.
He
Just
he
like
talked.
combating those.
He had two of them, and one that I really paid attention to is the one where he's talking about nature and nurture, and so that was very helpful for me because when I'm at McDonald's, there's a couple gay people there, so he basically went through the studies that there were on gay people, and there were studies on biology, and with the biology studies, they studied the brain structure and the chromosomes, and then there were some studies on environment. And the studies that they did were very inconsistent. In fact, I believe every single one of them were inconsistent, and so they never got a definite answer on why a person would be gay, heterosexual, or anything like that. And he still left it open for a person to be born gay. So there was nothing like that, but he did say that it's basically a choice. So that was pretty interesting, encouraging.
Was that the breakout that you got this info at, or was it during the breakout?
Yeah, it was the breakout session
Cool.
that I went to.
And you said the difference between nature and nurture. Is that right?
That's what it's titled. Yes. As far as
And then you asked about, was there a verse or something that he used to confirm it?
No, there was
Oh, I got you. You're looking at the notes?
Yeah, the breakout, the description of the breakout session.
Oh, I got you.
There's one. There are 6 passages in Scripture which touch on the issue of homosexuality, and then there's a lot of scripture. There's these 6 passages are what people use to say that the
What page are
Bible
you on?
says
It's the second one.
the fifth Bible. A lot of people will argue, well, the Bible says
Oh, I got you.
David and Jonathan, you know, like, and
Yeah.
so I wanted to hear his, because I've heard several people, even in my workplace, talking about that.
I can give you the PDF on that, but he
Yeah.
basically said that it was like it's wrong. It's
Yeah,
clear cut in the
people,
Bible about it
people
being
making
wrong.
their own interpretations, not the.
Yes. He was talking about the revisionist view and our view, basically.
That's becoming more and more prevalent.
Yeah.
Prevalent, I feel.
He also talked about gay people that are Christians and how they are reading the same Bible and still don't understand. So that was pretty interesting.
He did a summit.
Sorry.
He did the same presentation for a summit talk, and I think you can find it on the summit website. But it's like in 2 1.5 hour sessions. Like it's significant.
Wow,
It's really in
That's
depth.
good.
I know during his sessions he did emphasize that, like, he never said that he still didn't struggle with the same stuff. Like, he left it open, like he made it seem like he still, like, struggles with that. Like, it's not like he's completely free. Yeah. So he definitely made a point that it wasn't like just because you're not actively being gay doesn't mean thoughts don't arise still and all that.
And didn't he equate that with any other addiction that anybody else is challenged with?
Yeah. He said it with like an alcoholic or whatever. Like, you see alcohol, it's gonna bring back the need for it. So.
Let's go to his notes then on his session. Gay sex is not the worst sin. Our sin is just as odious. Anybody know what the opposite of homosexual is?
Sexual? Single?
Holiness.
Oh yeah, that's the holy.
The opposite of homosexuality is not heterosexuality. Remember he made that point?
Sexuality.
It's holiness. Be holy because I am holy. 1 Peter 1:16, Leviticus 11:44, 45. Then he talked about the consistency in a Christian response to homosexuality regarding relationships. Singleness is a gift, 1 Corinthians 7. Regarding sexuality, holy sexuality, it's not homo, it's not hetero, it's holy, right? We ought not segregate ourselves by our attractions, he said. Singleness is not second best. Singleness is not loneliness. Regarding change is not the absence of temptations, but change is the ability to be holy even in the midst of temptations. Anybody, if you want to, at any point, if you want to jump in and add to this is just basically fill in the outline, fill in the blank outline. Compassionate, expect this is present here. In the body of Christ. Know your position. What's the main message, the takeaway? It's to inspire a deeper relationship with Jesus. Go ahead.
That leads to complete surrender.
Okay. Assurance of friendship. Be loving. Zero tolerance on bullying. Stop the gay jokes, he said. And then this is Sean McDowell, I think, said this in the past as well. Remember? He talks about driving home from church, he and his wife, and apparently somebody at church from the platform made a joke, and they talked about it. As far as complete, focus on truth. Be redemptive. Their main issue is surrendering to Jesus. Christian with homosexual feelings, thank them. I don't understand that.
For like talking to you about it.
Huh?
For opening up to you about it.
Okay. Not alone. Identity is in Christ. Be realistic with your expectations. Don't focus so much on externals. Encourage God-honoring same-sex friendships. LGBT friends, do not compare to addiction, pedophilia, murder, etc. Say lifestyle or choice. Say love the sinner, hate the sin.
Never say that.
This is do not.
Yeah.
Compare to addiction, pedophilia, murder. Do not say lifestyle or choice. Do not say love the sinner, hate the sin. Do not debate, aka defend the truth. There's a time for truth when their heart is open. Do. What's the first one?
Pray.
And
Listen.
Praying fast.
Praying fast.
Listen. C, be intentional. Do be patient and transparent, and do be persistent, or flip flop those two.
What was that line that you said in there? The don't defend. It was don't defend. Don't debate.
Don't defend the truth.
Don't defend the truth. Don't debate.
Don't say.
There's a time for what?
Truth when their heart.
Yeah, debate.
It's
Yeah.
hope.
There's a time-
Do not debate. Period. There's a time for truth when their heart is open.
I think it's a pretty powerful thing though. Like to think about not just from like a homosexual standpoint, but from like an all-center standpoint. Especially when we're on campus talking to different atheists and different people. It's you can't just because it's truth doesn't mean you can cram it down their throat. You know what I mean? Like I think that there's a time. It's exactly what he's talking about there. He's talking about building relationships, and he's talking about that their heart has to be open to be able to accept truth. And I think that applies to any center you're talking to.
Thanks, I appreciate that. And then I would say reflect on your small groups on Sunday night and see what's happened, just as a result of building relationships.
Yeah, it was something too at the Ken Ham event. Some girl like came up and was just scowling at the like banner at the book table, and was like, "Can I help you? Like, is there something?" You're just standing there, and I kind of thought maybe she was just gonna read it and go on, and she comes up and says like, just starts railing about she's a Christian, but she believes in evolution. And she starts talking about a million different topics, like she's talking about inbreeding, I don't know why, carbon dating, like there's no consistent argument, she's just throwing stuff out. And so I just sat there and let her have a platform, and I said, what's your name, what's your major? And I said, like, I think you bring a really interesting opinion, I'd love to hear more about it. And people started coming out, so I knew we were about to start getting busy, and I said like, hey, would you like to take my card, come to, here's a bit about my organization. I'd love to have you there to sit and like listen to what you have to say. And she just said no and walked off. And there was her name was Lori. She works with someone in one of the UCO offices, and she just said like, I thought you handled that so well. And I said, some people just need a platform. They just want a platform. And if I had jumped in and said, what do you mean by this? Or, and gone into apologetics, it wouldn't have done anything because she didn't want to listen. I wanted to give her my phone number and said, okay, let's actually talk.
Yeah, exactly.
And she didn't want to do
Wow.
it.
That's good.
Which is sad. Her name's Abby, if you'd like to pray by name.
Well, Abby, thanks for being here tonight.
It's really hard.
You just had to join us. It was a
talk
little
now?
awkward for her to tell a story like that, I'll be honest. But
Boy, who'd have ever thought, huh? Well, there you go. Anything else? So then we went to lunch, came back. Rethink. How did
Breakout section 1.
No, we're gonna go back to the breakouts later.
Okay, lunch.
We'll do the main section.
Was that the Hispanic
Yeah, that was
place
whatever.
where I spilled water everywhere?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Can't take you people anywhere. How you see race, a candid conversation on race and grace. We walked in late on this, we got to this one late. Partially by design. Does anybody Oh yeah, I had to go gas the van at this time.
Oh yeah, this is my nap on this one.
So that's too bad, I missed this one. Anybody have any insights on this?
Wait, which is this
It
one?
was about
This is the race.
See how you see race, a candid conversation on race and grace. This is Walter Strickland.
wait, what?
Where's Walter's? Oh my gosh.
The race one?
No.
He serves as Associate Vice President for Diversity and Assistant Professor of Theology at Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary, where he leads the Kingdom Diversity Initiative.
We're listening, Dave.
Sorry, that just threw me for a loop. Talk about the race one.
I
He's
thought
like,
the
how
race
about
one was the race
planets?
one. I got what?
Basically, the idea was
planets?
Earth shouldn't discriminate against the
Oh yeah. Well, they've got a. Don't they have somebody in charge of diversity down at Oklahoma University that they pay $225,000 a year?
I'm sure they
They do. They just assigned him in the last couple of years. They just created that position.
talk about diversity.
He's the diversity chair down there.
I'm sure that has a lot to do with diversity of thought.
Oh, I'm sure that's how that all works. Yeah. It says here, along with being a diversity consultant, he is a frequent conference speaker. Walter and his lovely wife, Stephanie, live in Hawaii. Oh, yeah, whatever. So anyway, anybody have any insights on this one? Walter Strickland? I had absolutely no interest in this. Just saying. Anybody else? And then session 5, let's talk. Jay Warner, when he shut the place down. Oh my goodness.
Was this the really good one with the
Yes.
with the vest and the
Yes.
couch
And the blue gun.
and the blue gun?
Okay, so he talked about number 1, distinctive duty. When you know your vest can stop bullets, it changes the way you work. And so he puts his flak jacket on and he talks about blading when the guy has got a gun on you. How he talks about how you close down your profile and you turn to that target sideways. And they were learning that the flak jackets, all they provided was protection on the front side and there was nothing on the sides. And they learned that they were blading, but there was nothing to protect them. So now they've got wraparound flak jackets. And then they take these jackets out when they get them. They take them out to the firing range and they shoot. How far were they? Did they say?
5, 10, and 20. Exactly, I think.
So anyway, they shoot bullets to these vests, and they know that these vests will stop the bullets. And then he told a story, and Brenda's fixing to share it here shortly. It looks like she's just over there, just can't wait.
She's the color of that balloon over there.
Remember the story he told about the police officer that had the gun drawn on him, and he tensed up because he knew he was going to take a bullet, and he knew what the vest was going to do.
He knew there was no way he could have drawn it in time or anything like that. He just stood there.
To take the bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, either he was going to take the bullet, or he could have tried to run behind a car or something.
But the person was too far away for.
Yeah, he couldn't do
couldn't
it hand
engage.
in hand because
Hand
the
to
guys
hand.
had too much space. So he made a choice to just take the bullet because he trusted his vest,
Oh
which
yeah.
was the whole story behind it.
Just
Trust
take
your
it, yeah.
vest, So he trusted it and lived and shot the guy 3 times.
So he went from belief that the vest would protect him to belief in the vest. And so the tactical operational plan there is rethink the way you think about faith. Anybody want to add some insights to that? Ty, you got anything?
I do not.
Targeted training. Then he talked about the blue gun, and he had his holster on. He put his what do you call that thing? He had
Something brown.
He had a name for it. I can't remember. He kept referring to it by name.
I can't remember the name of it.
But it was the same one he had gotten.
Utility belt.
It's the same one he
That's
had.
what we'll call it.
It's the same one he had gotten at
That's what Batman calls it.
at training at his basic training. And anyway, he's got a blue gun, and he brings the blue gun out, and it's just a resin. It's just a training gun. You can't fire any bullets with it, but you could just see the way he was operating. They train you to make that gun a part of an extension of your hand, like it says there. And so then he says they train you to achieve muscle memory with that thing. And then he spent some time, was this when he took some time to talk about how police shows on TV misrepresent how police are engaging with their guns?
Kelly was having fun with this one.
Yes.
Despite how he was just getting into it.
Somebody talk about the illustrations he gave.
About how they don't point up at the ceiling because they're not trying to shoot ceiling tiles.
Why is that?
And it takes more time to bring your hand down to here than if you do it like you're supposed to and just pull it up.
Yeah. So he said that our first draw is not to the final target. It's just a couple feet or a couple inches below, right?
Yes.
So then all he has to do when he wants to go is, and then he talked about how they go around corners, how they pie the corner. Remember that? What else? Those are the only two.
They don't yell behind drywall because you can shoot through drywall, so that's not smart. So they wouldn't be yelling, "He's in here," whenever they're standing behind drywall, which is what they do on the.
Good stuff. So you train to achieve muscle memory. Okay, get ready for the objections to Christianity. There's a direct relationship between preparation and enthusiasm. Brenna, this is you. Come on.
Get it.
What did you do? Direct relationship between preparation and
We talked about this on the way back. We actually talked about it on the way down.
Yeah.
Oh, what I said.
You said when you evaluate your teachers with your
yeah.
work.
It seems like we always seem to associate enthusiasm with like voice level, like loudness. But then if we're not prepared, we try to make up for it by being like funny and louder and more exaggerated. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, and then we talked on the way back, basically saying that anytime you're teaching a Bible lesson, it always goes better when you're fully prepared. Because you're enthusiastic. Why? Because you know it.
You can throw yourself behind the story.
Say anything again?
You can throw yourself behind the story and into it, and you're having
Exactly.
energy behind it because you know what you're teaching.
That goes to that adage I think I've said before in here. The louder you say it, the more emphatic that you say it, the better you know it. So his tactical out plan on that was muscle memory lines. So what do you think happens when you die? And he talked about everything in life has a design or purpose. What's yours? And then when you ask that question, so what do you think happens when you die? You don't just pop the question and leave them hanging. You what? You prepare a dialogue with them. You prepare that because that's going to be your muscle memory line. You're always going to use it. Huh?
I say you say want to see.
So you have to come up with a muscle memory line. What's your muscle memory line? Anybody have one? Nobody has a muscle memory line? Brenda, what's your muscle memory line over there?
Don't laugh.
Is it bingo?
No, because my thing was he was asking what questions you should ask, and I said you should ask him, "Hi, what's your name?" That was my thing.
That's.
Oh,
I mean,
Start the conversation.
my question is, who are you?
Keelan has one.
Which is the same thing that I asked Drew Worship.
Oh, did you really? Okay, let's talk about Drew. You brought him up.
Drew Worsham is a magician,
Illusionist.
illusionist. Yeah, he actually originally went to college for psychology because he was going to be a family psychologist, and then he learned he had a lot of passion in magic tricks, so he started focusing on that, and somehow he uses magic to witness to people some way or another. So he typically he uses the being on stage doing magic tricks, and then people always want to talk to you after the show, so he uses that to have conversations with people because he doesn't always have he doesn't always have the ability, depending on where he goes, to actually talk about God while he's up there. So
His bio, he's a pastor, public speaker, and accomplished mentalist, illusionist, and magician. He first began to study the art of magic and mentalism just as a hobby, but soon realized it demanded people's attention. He travels now around the country and occasionally overseas, performing using illusions and magic to draw crowds of people in to hear the story of Jesus and to share the love of God. When he's not on the road, he loves discipling college students at his home church, reading books, and experimenting with candle making. But he takes every illustration he uses, or every trick that he does, he brings the gospel into it. What was that first one he did that first night?
That was the story one, where you pick a city, go that city in your mind, we're walking down the street, on our right there's a red awning, we're going to go past the red awning to the red door, we're going to go into the bookshop, which is what it was, past the romantic section, now we're in the whatever section it is, and pick out a book, the high or low, whatever, that kind of stuff, and then what page are you going to go to, and then went to the very last page.
Oh yeah.
And then he asked them to pick a word. What word did you pick? And the word they picked was love. And you could tell that he had different places where he had papers, but he had that one on.
Just happened to have love in his upper left-hand corner pocket. He said, "See what I wrote earlier before we came on stage."
but he essentially used the psychology thing to put them on a journey, because everything there's only several words that you could use that would go with a red room, cute animals. He talked about his wife.
Yeah.
He used all the key things to involve either love or companionship or something close to that. So he used his psychology to manipulate the person into choosing themselves the word that he had chosen.
The most likely word to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of what he did. And then the last one that I remember was when he did the Rubik's Cube, and he talked to me, the message was abundantly clear. He says, the one who made this and designed this, it's just like God using us. We're his tool. And he can use us. The master can use us. And if we're in his hands, he can use us the way he wants to use us. He was good. He was a lot of fun. Okay, anything else on our good friend, Mr. What's his name?
Drew Worsham?
Yeah.
Oh, he's my favorite dude. No,
Yeah.
either.
You went to his breakout, right? Then, intense investigation. We have to know the truth. He talked about the tactical plan is to read the Bible cover to cover. Remember, he said, I take these, what do you call them? Case books. And the first thing he does when he tries to solve a cold case, he sits down in a room and he reads from cover to cover. And then he said he never reads alone or something like that?
He never reads one page alone or one report or something like that.
Why is that?
Because you'd be taking it out of context. He tries his best to get them in chronological order of how they happened, how they came in, that kind of stuff. So he has a full plan of when it started, how it ended, and all that kind of stuff as well.
So the first thing he does, he takes all this report and he basically takes it apart and he puts it in chronological order. Yep. And he talks to us about reading the Bible cover to cover, even though it's difficult and boring. It's imperative that we do that.
And then he gave us some ideas on, there's like some things there's like a website that puts the Bible in actual chronological order to
Yep.
make it easier to read.
Yep. Chronological Bibles. And then finally, convincing communication. This was kind of neat. I didn't catch the fourth and the fifth, and I don't even know if he said it. We talked about SWAT team techniques when you got 5 guys and they go into a house. And all I caught was the lead guy, the second, and the third. Did anybody else get 4 and 5?
He really talks about them as much.
So he talked about how when you go into a house, and he said again, he was talking, didn't he kind of talk about how Hollywood does it incorrectly? But he said, we go into a house, and he shared a story about when we went in one time. Oh yeah, they went into a drug dealer, right?
And the drug dealer was notorious for keeping his gun between the couch cushions.
And they went in there, and the lead guy didn't have his patches down, and his patches, sometimes your patches have to talk, and that's all you need. He didn't have his police word or his badge patch down.
So he didn't know if he was getting robbed or whatever, or some gang is coming in there trying to...
He didn't know if
really
some of the
listening to the
drug
lead guy
cartel
at all.
was diving in on him, yeah. So it was all kind of in limbo until Warner stepped out behind this guy, and Jay Warner was the second one. So he had suspect left, boom, is all he was focusing on. And then the third guy was suspect right, and the lead guy was on the suspect, and everything was just kind of boom, sitting there until the guy on the couch saw Jay Warner's police and badge. Then he knew what they were dealing with, and he gave up, he surrendered. Sometimes your patches have to talk, and that's all you need. What does that mean? It's your lifestyle as a believer. Sometimes that's all it needs to talk. And if you've got somebody that you're trying to engage in the conversation of Christ and eternity, whatever your muscle memory line is, they're watching your life, and it's all you have to do sometimes is let your life talk. So think of your own group, he said, as far as the SWAT technique is concerned, the SWAT team. He said, think of your own team. Pray for them, and then establish a plan. I'm telling you what, Warner is good.
Yeah.
His books are the best to read if you're just starting out in apologetics, or you really struggle with retaining information, because his analogies are so good, and he will relate every little detail to something in your walk. It's amazing.
Shared illustration about the yard dogs.
Oklahoma City Yard Dogs?
It's the new ministry I'm gonna found. It's called Sheepdog Ministries.
Yeah, the theme song is "Who Let the Dogs Out." So you guys, you're gonna be that or a Chihuahua. All right. So then we went to breakouts. Anybody do answering the gay born again question with science and theology?
I did.
Ty did that.
That's what he just
I just talked about
The
it.
nature nurture.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about can one way be the only way? Anybody go to that one? We had what? Waleed went to that. Harley went to that. Addie went to that. Ty went to that. Ben went to that. Harley went to that. Okay, so we got 2, 4, 5 went to one. Nobody went to Coco. Vic, you went to Can We Trust the Bible? Right? What did you find out on that?
That was really good.
That was really good.
Yeah.
That was Jay Warner.
Yeah, it was.
Go, girl. You're on.
I think I'm still processing a lot of it because a lot of stuff I didn't know beforehand. But it was really good. He was talking about how we don't have the original manuscript for the New Testament, which I guess I knew, but it was kind of like, he's like, so I'm telling you a lot of stuff so that you don't panic when you find it out, because he was talking about, who was it, Bart Ehrman, who found out he went to Moody. It was the same, he had the same educational background as Christopher Wan. He went to Moody, he went to Wheaton, and then he went to Harvard, and he found out that we didn't have the original manuscripts. And it like really changed his faith. So it was really good. And he talked about like why, even though we don't have the originals, like we have so many copies of parts of the New Testament. And he said that even if you took out all of the different parts that they would say were inconsistent, the truth would still be the same. You'd still have the virgin birth, you would still have Christ and like his attributes, you'd still have the resurrection. And he said even if you just studied like the people that the Apostle John taught, then you'd still have the same thing. So it was really good.
I'm guessing just by reading the bio or the intro on that, it's pretty much the same. How to investigate crime scenes as he makes the case for the reliability of the New Testament. I think we've probably seen that before when he's been here either for Reclaim or at the church. Mary Beth went to Is There Life Out There? Anybody have any insights on that one? Brian, are you ready?
Is that about aliens?
Yes.
Sarah, did you go to that one?
Nope. I went to the other one I was choosing between.
Nobody went to the aliens one.
Anybody go to Barnett's Has Science Buried God?
I did.
Go, girl.
A lot of it was much more, since he had his background in teaching in the public schools on mostly physics and that kind of stuff, so it was a lot of the cosmological argument and that kind of stuff, which is something that I knew a lot of anyway, but I still wanted to see something different about it. And he pulled in a lot of the statements that true atheist writers and those kinds of people made. It's really funny because I took a lot of pictures to get like full page notes on the PowerPoint, and he had a article written by someone that said all scientists should be militant atheists, and that like got torn apart from what I remember from other people. And it's like, this is ridiculous in all of what it's saying because it's wrong. And I can't remember exactly where I was going with that. That's how I am. But it was interesting because he pulled in a whole bunch of quotes. It was fun. I liked it.
Okay.
Don't know if there's something else I want to say, but there is, and I just don't know it yet, probably.
So then, Michael, we've touched a little bit, and Brenna, do you want to add anything to using your gifts to proclaim Jesus and glorify God? That was, what's his name, right there, Drew? Did you want to add anything to that?
I like how he said 95% of your ministry it starts when you step off the stage. And he said, like your gifts and talents are nothing more than keys, like used to get you to places that people who you wouldn't otherwise be able to. So like making sure that our gifts and talents point others to Christ, not to us.
That's good. Good. Then we did the special leader session with Stone Street. Got some notes on that somewhere. Yeah, right here. Chuck Colson, because Stone Street works at the Colson Center. And he said that Colson asked why is culture breaking down? Where is the church in this breakdown of the culture? Y'all remember Chuck Colson? Anybody know this Chuck Colson story? He was basically Richard Nixon's hitman, and he went to prison as a result of Watergate. He was the heavy in Nixon's cabinet. Who would he be like today? He'd be like Trump in his own cabinet. I mean, he didn't care who he talked to. He told him what Nixon wanted him to tell him. And Nixon was really, really insecure, very insecure. He's talking about culture, the worlds that people make of the world a product of human creation, innovation, productivity. The problem is the direction cultures take. We make culture, culture makes us. I thought a lot of this was interesting based on just having come off our discussion last week about the culture of UCO. He says on YouTube there are 25 sessions on helping the next generation navigate today's world. Let's see if there's anything else. He said God wants our kids to live in this moment. Yeah, that was pretty encouraging. The reason that we're here at such a time as this. He said the Bible is the context of our times. Questions, all cultural questions are answered in the Bible. Culture is to humans what water is to fish. And he said that the undercurrents in our culture today is what creates the cultural waves. And so we can't see the undercurrents. And he talked about, if you've ever been in the ocean, how a crasher will come in, a wave will come in and push you to the shore. Or he says, have you ever been in the water playing with the kids or whatever, and next thing you know, you're about 20 yards down further? He says that's the undercurrent carrying you there, and you don't even know what's happening. So he talked a little bit about that. The drowning of truth in noise, information versus wisdom. He said in, let's see, he asked the question, who do students trust? In other words, who is their authority? And you know what the answer is? Huh? Google. Yeah, we talked about that in here recently, haven't we? That Google is the sex educator. Anybody has questions on anything, they Google. Access to info gets confused with info itself. College curriculums jump through hoops. The antidote to the culture is discernment. You have to define your terms, he said. Yeah, wow, this is profound. He said, when you're talking with a homosexual and you tell a homosexual, and this is a homosexual said this, he said, if you tell me I can't have erotic love, then don't withhold the others from me. In other words, he's saying, don't condemn them. If you tell me, hey, if you're going to tell me that my lifestyle is wrong and all I'm engaged in is eros, then be my friend. Yeah. Friend, truth. He talked about being alone together in computers. Sherry Turkle is a psychologist at MIT. Do we pursue real relationships or artificial relationships? Siri, Alexis, etc. TED Talks. The antidote to that is relationships, eye-to-eye contact. Christian kids that can make eye contact will be the leaders. And so he talked about time and sacred spaces with your family. Sacred spaces would be your car, dinner table, bedroom, and vacations. He talked about the perpetual adolescence, the Peter Pan syndrome. He said that to battle that, study virtue. What does it mean to be human? The fact that we're created in God's image. Obviously, if we're created in God's image, we're all equal. And then he suggested that everyone read Sex After Christianity by Rod Dreher. Again, that was a Stone Street, and it was all based on his new book. Can't remember what the name of it is. You probably know. It's the yellow cover with a boat.
It's something culture.
Yeah, something culture. But anyway, he took us through the first couple chapters, and then came the old, hey, there's a whole lot more in my book, so stop by the book table and pick that up. All right, so that was Stone Street, and that was really good. What else? Evil is evidence that Christianity is true. Anybody go to that one? Jay Warner? Breakout 2. Do I have anybody for that? I don't. Do I have anybody for Ask Me Anything? Q&A? Anybody go to that one? Q&A? How about Tactics in Defending the Faith? Harley and Brenna. Brenna, you didn't go to that one?
Well, we were in.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's the one that got shut down.
No, Wallace's got shut down. So by the time we got to the other guy, I didn't really hear much.
Okay.
He just asked like the 2 questions that you guys all asked.
Okay. Next one is Christian response to social justice. Anyone go to that? Did you go to that one? No.
No.
You went to the next one. The Bible and same-sex relationships.
Yeah, I went to that one. I talked about that earlier also.
Who chose the books of the Bible? I went to that one, and so did Mary Beth. Wow, it was good, but it was way over my head. Unbelievable. I mean, you had a handout, and I've got empty copies here, but oh my gosh, I wouldn't even know where to start. Getting from Jesus to Irenaeus. So you get the scriptures, summaries, singing, sacraments, and snapshots of early church fathers. Setting the record straight on diversity in earthly Christianity. Disagreement by itself proves nothing. Our theological core of beliefs go way back to Jesus. The canonical core of books was established by the early to mid 2nd century. Talked about why certain books ultimately rejected from the canon. Obvious forgeries, late productions, which meant that they were produced in the 2nd or 3rd century. They weren't consistent with core theology of earliest Christianity. I talked about 1 John 1 through 5. But anyway, it was one of those that just scratched the surface and you get in there. It was after lunch, and I'm in there, and I'm sitting there going, I wish I were more awake because this would be really interesting. I mean, it was just, but it was moral, and the guy's got some deep insight. The good thing about that is when I walked out of there, I got to talk with him, and I dropped Tate Bullard's name and gave him my card and said, hey man, we would love, I'm in Oklahoma. Well, he's a Sooner fan, and I said, well,
Is he really?
yeah, his dad used to play for them or used to go down to school at OU or something. So I said, we've got some things going on our campus, and we're looking at maybe getting you and Stone Street to come to the campus. And he goes, come on, let's get her done. So
Did you use the Bullards as your connection?
yeah, oh yeah, I dropped the. Is that game over?
Meanwhile,
Oh. Anybody go to Is the God of the Old Testament a Moral Monster?
I did.
Yeah, girl. Oh,
He-
a bunch of you did. No?
no, just me.
No, just you.
Just me, all by myself. Like always on these ones.
Yeah, good girl.
This one he mostly just focused on genocide and did God condone genocide, committed himself and that kind of stuff, which he did with the flood, obviously, which is his main reference point. But you look at it and you realize that all the people's thoughts of those days were only evil continuously. That was the reason. He's a just God who is loving and cares for us. But if we're breaking his rules and his promises with us, he's got to punish us. And if it was all the people, which that's only continuously, that's the consequences of that type of thing.
He also gave them 100 years to repent. So
Yeah.
It sounds just like the EE presentation when she was talking. Did you catch that? Just like the EE. Go ahead.
What was that connected? And then I was thinking about it because, while he was talking, because I was connecting it to the fact because Shem, Ham, and Japheth were all benefited from Noah's righteousness itself. And because he was talking about how generational sins and that kind of stuff, if you believe in those stuff, and somehow I don't know how it connects, but how they still benefited because Noah was seen as a righteous man and lived his life righteously, that they still benefited in justifying, killing everybody, women, children, all of them, yet because of what they did.
Is that it on that? How about making abortion unthinkable? Sleeman? Anybody? And then finally, Stone Street again, amusing ourselves to death. Oh, a bunch of you all went to that one. Michael, Victoria, go girl. Michael?
It's just talking about, social media is pretty bad. Basically, it's talking about
I can imagine that's a Stone Street
how media
presentation.
and everything influences our lifestyle and how our entire culture, and how it's very hard to get away from everything, get away from all that, and it's hard to change your culture whenever it's being spoon fed to you every day you wake up.
Dive in there.
I think he said too that it was interesting how the media was separate before, how it was we knew what was entertainment and we knew what was news, but then he said then we started having news about entertainment, and he said then suddenly the news had to be entertaining.
Oh wow.
So it was really good because he was now we have to be entertained by anything, and it was really convicting because he was maybe if you're bored by something, you're boring, and maybe if it's over your head, you're too short. He's just because it's entertaining doesn't mean it's not good. And it was really good because a lot of stuff isn't there just to entertain you, and he's a lot of things now we think if it's not entertaining, it's not worth our time. So that was really good. And then also at the end he said, in it he was talking about how Marx too wasn't a cool dictator, but he just had the idea, so it kind of brought the whole thing back to ideas having consequences. So if you're putting out ideas, someone might live them out, and if they take you seriously, we can trace it back to Marx, even though he wasn't the one.
Everything is traced back to Marx.
It was really good.
The serpent in Eden was actually serpent Marx.
So, all you hip young kids, how everybody says that this is the most popular term around my workplace is bougie. I hear, oh, you're bougie.
Okay, I have a whole story behind bougie, but I'll let you.
Yeah, I hear that all the time, and it kind of sparked my curiosity a little bit, and I was like, what is the root of the word bougie? And turns out it's
bourgeoisie.
It's like a slang, like a short version of bourgeoisie. So, all right, Karl Marx, I could get past your communism, but this is where I draw the line.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's working class, right?
No, proletariat is the working class, and the bourgeoisie is the 1%.
Yeah, they're like that.
Karl Marx.
So when you say you're bougie, what you're saying is like you're stuck up, like you're too good for everything. You're rich.
You're the 1%.
It's when you're like, oh, you're so bougie, like you have to have like Gucci sweatpants. And
Well, you're doing the same thing. You said Gucci. Isn't it the same hip lingo that the young
Gucci's a
kids
brand.
no, Gucci's a brand.
Well, it also means okay.
That's true.
Right. But
Which
like
is what
you
people
have
use
to
it.
have a Rolex, not just like a nice watch. You know, that's being bougie, but it stems from bourgeoisie. And I'm like,
How'd you learn that? Somebody tell you?
No, I took that.
So I have a,
Oh,
I have
wow,
a
yeah.
question for everyone.
Go for it.
I went on a mission trip last year, and all the girls on my team, because we were at a mall, they said that these stores were bougie, and I had no idea what that meant. And this is last year. I had no idea what bougie meant. They tried to explain it to me, and basically, here is my definition of bougie: expensive ghetto. Is that not right, or is that
Expensive, yeah. but that's you are a bourgeoisie. That's what it means. And I'm like, that is if that's not if that's like
It's the term that
if
communists
that ain't the
use.
devil, I don't know what
It's
is.
the term that communists use. So like you need the government to come in and basically destroy the bourgeois class.
Yeah.
Because the proletariat is being crushed under the boot of the bourgeois.
Yeah.
So
It's an argument against capitalism.
Yeah, it's an argument against capitalism. Let's face what it is.
gotcha?
And it's now been turned into a slang term.
Yeah.
And the slang term just means expensive, like upper class.
Yeah.
But doesn't it mean the dominant part of culture too? I mean, bougie.
No, because
It's like the opposite.
it's making it sound like anyone with money is immediately the oppressor because they have money.
So it is
So
an
everyone
insult.
wants to
It's
use
cool
Yeah, it's like
to
a-
not have money.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. It's like a derogatory term, like you're so
Okay.
bougie, like
Yeah.
Like you're doing so well, you're bad.
no, it's like you're so bougie would be
Stuck
like
up, basically.
you
My
have to
generation.
like I don't know, like Josh, you're so bougie because those
I wear my Crocs.
yeah because you got those super expensive Crocs.
Sure do.
That's a correct.
You still don't get it?
No, I get it. I just don't get people.
Yeah.
Like me, I'm very bougie.
I swear, it's probably George Soros.
You just said you bought your suits at Goodwill. What are you talking
Yeah.
I guess I've got some notes here on Morrow's deal. He says that only 10% of the world was literate back in those days, predominantly in oral culture, which contributed to the fact that there was very few writings. Good grief, who was it? Yeah, where did I hear that? Anyway, sorry. Early Christianity was predominantly Jewish. Deliver and receive in like 1 Corinthians 15, 3 through 5, when he talks in 1 Corinthians 3 through 5 about delivering and receiving. We delivered unto you what we received. First of all, he says that's a formal term for passing on. He says when Rufus and Jairus are mentioned, it indicates that they knew what was going on. Everybody knew these guys. The people who knew the truth were still there to validate it. The canonical core was a solid debate. Came down to those on the periphery. 3 John, 2 Peter, Hebrews, and Revelation. Yeah, they weren't concerned with Jesus as a young boy, but rather sayings, teachings, and later life. And then he referenced YouTube. Did Jesus rise from the dead? So that was some good stuff. I wish that was be fun to hear him say present that at some point somewhere. I don't know. What's next? Go to strnnextgeneration.com. Discover more evidence for the truthfulness of Christianity. You can see the purchase of book, CD, DVD. Go to impact360.org. Sign up for 2018 summer deal if you're an adult. Summer student immersion program. Leaders go to colsoncenterfellows.org. So they're giving you all those insights on where to go and what to do. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Cool. Parting shots. Anybody? Here was the best part of the whole thing for me.
Getting to hang out with friends. That's what someone said.
I mean, the ride back was a lot of fun for me.
Why?
There's some interesting things that happened.
What was was there an overriding theme to the return
There
trip?
was.
What was it?
Sass.
Sass?
Yes.
See?
Felt like I was at Falls Creek for a brief moment.
I was going to say towel, but
I mean, towels too. But
Well,
there was
we're
that
not
too.
supposed to talk about towels. It's a rule.
unbelievable. Brenna, what was the best part of the return trip?
I said I love Falls Creek.
Milkshake. How about you, Vic? Any insights?
That's part of the return trip?
Yeah.
Pulling into Fairview Park.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sister.
Oh my god.
I have to say, when he left, too, and the whole back seat.
Yeah, I'm sad.
turned on Wally.
Oh my
I miss
gosh,
the Wally
yes.
roast.
So we dropped Michael off at Northeast 10th Street over there at Dollar General or something. Family Dollar. And then somehow the word got to from the front two seats to Waleed that Michael did indeed hawk that towel at Waleed's encouragement. And Waleed,
The entire back to
everybody just rode him.
What do you mean you told him to take it? Why didn't he would actually take it? She's like, he stole property because he
Yeah. How do you expect God to bless this trip, you idiot?
Addie and Waleed were the two main ones.
Oh,
He's like, I'm a foreigner. Why do people listen to me? I don't know what they're doing in American
That's phenomenal.
It was the absolute best attempt at rationalization that I have ever seen in my life.
You can't take it with you.
Oh my gosh. Well, why'd you stop at the towel? Why'd you grab some pillows and a couple?
He grabbed the soap.
Oh, that was an accident.
Wait, you took the soap with you?
Soap dish.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was taking.
Oh, you were in that room.
I was just taking the soap and the dish came with it.
It's crazy. Amazing how that happens.
Can we pray?
And the other part is sometimes you just don't know that some of these motels nowadays have continental breakfast. Sometimes you just don't know any of that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I got down there. It was
I
too
didn't
late.
either.
It was aggravating. Yeah, like
I have a running
yes.
list of places that give a continental breakfast.
I don't even stay if they don't.
Why would you stay in a motel that have a continental
I'm
breakfast?
saying.
What's the best waffles?
Yeah.
I thought you were just paying for the stay. Like I didn't
Heck
know.
No, you pay for the towels too.